that he received actually 100 billion naira. And that's the problem you're having now. If the Ministry of Finance could make such disclosure, why is it that the Governors Forum are yet to talk? Is yet to talk. It means they are guilty as charged. I remember that at the time the president tried to, I think he gave either executive order number 10, saying that the accountant general must make sure that before monies are given to states again, they must account for how the local government funds get to them. Now, if you have a system where the governors are be all and end all, you have only created and sustained poverty. And that's why, if you talk about primary elections, it is the governors that will decide who gets what. And many of them are jumping now. They want to go to National Assembly, if not to complete their own current tenure. Some of them are tenure limited. You understand? So the problem we have is that the governors are not being fair. They are not being faithful. And even at a point, they even canvassed abolition of local government in 2010. So anything that should be done to make sure that the people at the grassroots feel the essence and the presence of government is allowed, including having a conversation, even in the constitution, because I don't understand the basis why in local government you have the periodic election and at the state level and then at the federal level, but then at the local level you don't have periodic election. Before now, during the military era, we are all aware that there used to be tractors belonging to local government. So we are not those ones now. So even the governors, they have assumed more powers. They changed everything. The governors now assume more powers than the military did. You understand? In the military days, you only had military administrators who were only answerable to the head of state.
All right,
but today, governors are in fact, they are demigods.
All right, Council, you talked about, this blaming syndrome of this administration that has always been there for some time now. But this one, you also said that Mr. President and the presidency are correct.
I said,
yeah, they are right. Correct in this. Now, but the only disagreement there is that you said the poverty rate, cannot be blamed on the governors. Are you saying on the governors entirely or on the governors alone? Considering if these allocations meant for local governments are not given to them, that means they are denied certain rights. And when it cannot get to them, what happens to those who are in the grassroots?
Okay, you see, I think there is some misconception on the part of everybody, including Mr. President himself. Okay. He does not seem to understand the workings of the local government, what is expected of them. Like most politicians do, they do not seem to know what the local governments are supposed to do. The money, I think Mr. President thinks that the money being given to, that's going by the speech credited to them at the center, they seem to think that the money being given to local governments is meant for sharing, to be disbursed to the people. That is wrong. Now, if you go to the provisions of Section 7 of the Constitution, which makes provision for the establishment of the local government, what caused problem is that during the process of interpretation of that particular section, it was discovered that the word tenure was omitted, and the then elected chairman, misguided by some governors in Nigeria, went to court to stop the federal government from legislating on tenure. The governors pushed them, and they got the Supreme Court to declare that everything about local government ought to be handled by the state. With that, with that particular, yes, and the thank you that the governors gave to them immediately after that decision was to dissolve all the elected council.
Yeah, it was supposed to be 4 years.
It was supposed to be 4 years. Yes. They did 2 years.
I think it was supposed to be 3 years.
4
years.
At the local council. 4 years. They came in. Their election was also being organized by INEC. So it was supposed to be 4 years. And The then National Assembly made provision for a 4-year tenure also. Strangely, those men went and got the Supreme Court. They litigated, and the Supreme Court said, since everything, they used what we call a wisdom generis rule of interpretation to say that you cannot give 90% of provisions regarding a particular subject matter to one authority, and then only 1 or 10% is left. Give everything to them. And immediately they were coming back, the governors dissolved them, and now started their CX, the State Independent Electoral Commissions. It is the CX that the governor uses. I'm not talking of Abia State, I mean all the states, each state has it, yes, to control the local government. Yes. They now have staggered election. They determine when they want to go about it and how they go about it. It is now within their domain, and nobody can do anything about it. Having now tidied up that particular aspect, they now have the local governments in a stranglehold. Anything they like, they do. Because whosoever they like, they appoint. They can get your councillors to wake up one morning and say that they have impeached you, even if you are elected. It has happened in several states. They wake up one morning and say that you've been impeached. You sign for 100 million, collect the 100 million, and return 99 million to wherever you are told to return it. But
and you think they are allowed to collect even, or just endorse and go? The most important thing is appending their signature. Okay,
you're talking like a local government chairman. Apparently, you're better informed. So, but the point actually being made is that I started from there. That money is not to be shared. That is where Mr. President got it wrong. Secondly, when the economic policies, the indices of economy are not determined from a particular local government.
Yes.
It's a nationwide, and it is controlled, in fact, by the federal government. The Economic Council and it's being run at the center. The exchange rate, the monetary policy, the fiscal policy, all controlled by the federal government. So I am not in support of a situation where every time, on every issue, this particular APC-led federal government will always look for somebody to blame other than themselves. It is always the fault of some other person. If they are not blaming the past administration, because I think for some time now, the president scaled down on it when he realized that he is the past administration, because he handed over to himself. So he has stopped blaming the past or immediate past administration, because he is also the immediate past administration. Now they are now blaming governors. For what? Yes, the governors are diverting funds, I agree, but the foundation for it is laid in the Constitution. The Constitution itself makes provision for joint development of the state, such that when money comes in the JAC, they can now determine, notwithstanding the allocation you got, to execute a joint project using funds from every other place. Let me give you an example of what I mean by that. Maybe each local government in Abia State gets 100 million. That is not the way it works. The amounts are not the same.
It's not the same.
Yes. Then they cannot decide that the local governments together will fund construction of a particular project in Osisioma, which, if you leave it to Osisioma local government alone, they cannot handle. And so each other local government sets up a particular percentage of its allocation, and then they execute it jointly. That is the Joint Account Allocation Committee. Next turn, it may go to Arochukwu, it may come to Okwa, it may go to Abat, and so on and so forth.
All right. Why they mentioned that poverty? Poverty in parentheses. That poverty, because if a local government, talking to your comrade now, if a particular local government, for instance, Aba South or Aba North ends about this month allocation is about 150 million naira. And I'm not sure Mr. President is talking about sharing. He's talking about making use of this money by the local government chairman to ensure that this money gets to the grassroots.
The councillors
will be the councillors will be given contracts to grade their areas.
Yeah.
But something don't happen again.
That is a
I
problem.
think
It is
it
wrong.
doesn't happen
Sorry,
here.
sir. Let's get out from here. With due respect, Mr. Moderator, you are also getting it wrong. You're falling into the same pithole that the president had fallen.
I know you've been a chairman
Yes.
before, so that, it's not defending
the money is not to be shared to
It's
councillors.
not shared. They
So you have said that councillors
grade.
no.
Said they should grade roads in their localities, but
That is
it
wrong.
doesn't happen again.
No.
What is the function of the supervisory councillor for works? What is the function of the supervisory councillor for works?
Supervisory councillor
for works, yes.
Is not a councillor.
He cannot supervise. No, supervisory councillor, yes, these are
Let me
But
enlighten you, sir. The supervisory councillor is not a councillor. He is no more called supervisory councillor. He is a supervisor. The supervisor is like a commissioner or minister, but at the local government level. The councillors are legislators. They do not execute projects. That is the problem.
They attract it.
They don't attract it. They are there to ensure that it is done.
But that is it now.
And that is
how is it
that
done
is
when the chairman has
that
no
is
right
the
over
third
the
aspect
money?
of their job called representation.
I want to talk
Okay,
about
representation.
on local government. You see, I have said it here, and I will keep saying it. In Nigeria, we know that there are indices with which you look at. You even talk about poverty. You talk about population. You talk about GDP. You talk about fiscal policy, monetary policy, like you said. Then you also talk about employment. You even talk about inflation. You talk about even education and other things. Then you now begin to
health.
you now begin to aggregate these things on one thing: poverty. The population of those who were poor last year, what happened? And where are they to be found? In the local area. I'm talking about the fisher folk. You understand? The farming folk, the fisher folk. So the truth about it is that the president, like I have said, yes, we may say he was actually trying to shift the blame or appear escapist, but is there truth in what he said? There is truth and finality in what he said. Because see, I have to say the constitution he mentioned, section 7, is as clear as day, that the local government shall be the third tier of government operating independently.
Yes.
That word is there. But then even if you talk about separation of powers, you see, they say functions of all organs of government or tiers of government to manage their own affairs. And this should also include finance. That the governors are financially trying to handicap or limit these ones are simply because they are not friends of the democracy. Ask yourself, how many governors can boast of having maybe a local council where opposition members are maybe in the majority? Yes. So the whole thing,
100% election.
The whole thing is that you even ask yourself,
Organized by the states.
Yes, you even ask yourself who even
Controlled by the state
We are
government.
making the same point this time around.
Understand?
You and I are agreeing this time around.
So the whole fact there is there is poverty in Nigeria, and like I said, in 2018 they said 88 million Nigerians were poor. Now they are saying 133 and are poor. It means 35 million. It means 35 million more persons had slumped
into abject,
into
miserable,
multi-dimensional poverty that looks at education, that looks at employment, that looks at everything. It means that
under this and
I believe, yes, and I want to be corrected if I'm wrong, that if the governors had done the needful and we have virile local councils, poverty will not be this much. It will not be alarming. It will not be widespread. Whether you want to talk about the president saying the truth or not, whether it's supervisory councillor or supervisor or whatever it is, if the governors have done the needful, mind you, these are governors. When the president issued that order, did they obey? They did not obey. Some of them want to be there because they don't want any challenge from the grassroots, and that's the problem we are having. Even today, our traditional institutions have been weakened because of politics at state level. So if you, for example, now if you try to do a comparative analysis of Nigeria and America, you see that power belongs to the people. That's why the county is stronger than the state, and the state is also stronger than the center, except where it is clear that there is a clash. Now, you see, in America, states have Supreme Courts. I'm not saying states have Supreme Courts. They also have their constitutions. Nigeria was usually, in fact, in 1954 we introduced we had the late 18th constitution which introduced federalism in the system, but that federalism died in 1966 when the military struck. Unfortunately, Gowon came and introduced the idea of state creation, 1967 May. Ever since we started talking about states and we collapsed these regions, how have we fared? You see, we are still practicing unity system of government.
Okay,
and that's why
before we leave these topics, some governors have reacted to the president's point-blank accusation, of saying that they are not among those diverting this local government money. And some of these governors,
exactly. And it's a simple straightforward. For even before you land the question,
yes,
I key into his answer. Let every man
speak for himself.
Yes, then the governors that have come out to say they are not part of this, they are Governor Tom of Benue State, Governor Dave Umahi of Ebonyi State, and Abdul Razak of Kwara State, then Solomon Lalong of Plateau State, Dapo Abiodun of Ogun State, and Nyeso Wike of River State. Yes. These are the number of governors that have been so fast to say they are not part of this.
See, I have problem with the governor.
Let everybody speak.
Let everybody speak for himself. But I have problem with the governor of Benue State, Autumn. I think workers have been owed, I think 33 months there or something. Okay, some months of salary anyway, areas of salary. So I wouldn't know. The question is, I want to go by the revelation made by the Minister of Finance. Though I still have questions for him, for her rather. We saw that in the budget, in the proposed budget for 2023, I can tell you that they inserted 206 billion into the budget of the worst ministry in the history of this country, Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, the worst ministry so far. Now, the minister
with one of the oldest,
the minister of finance said something. He said that the governors will come for bailout. In fact, at a point he said over 440 something billion naira was actually given out. They will come for bailout. They will receive bailout. They also come for what you call budget facility from the federal government. Some of them have actually borrowed 20 years from the federal source. They are borrowing. You understand? Now, each time we are only talk about these things, everything boils down to the president. But we are not even holding to account our legislators here, members of our assembly, who these things are happening before them, and they are working in cahoots with the governors.
All right. Before we go on break, let us look at this. The presiding justice Agatha Okeke of the Federal High Court has sentenced Senator Basi Akpan, the governorship candidate of YPP, to 42 years imprisonment on corruption, also on corruption, and then and mandated them to take him to a particular prison in Akwa Ibom where he will be serving out a governorship candidate of the YPP, 42 years imprisonment for money laundering and so. I
think it was either yesterday or day before yesterday. You said the whole Inspector General of Police, and I counted as a mere ordinary Inspector General of Police. Like I said then, and I reiterate now, only the president, the vice president, and in the state, the governor, the deputy governor, actually duly elected and sworn in, that have immunity. If no be something, let me not give a free advert for yes. If no be then he no be yes. He is a candidate, just like any other citizen of Nigeria. If he has fallen foul of the law will take its course. I would want to believe that you may not rule out completely the incidence or element of politics in the travels of this particular gentleman. However, having said that, the law does not leave the situation completely helpless. You have provision for appeal to a higher court, namely the Court of Appeal in this situation. The lawyer to the gentleman, if he knows what to do, can also fast-track the judicial process and ensure that the appeal is heard speedily.
Even the YPP themselves are going against it.
Yes, you don't go against it. You don't go against it.
Appealing it.
You don't go against it in the press.
Yeah.
You don't go against it on the internet.
Yes.
You don't go against it on the pages of the newspaper or on TV. You go against it in that small building, that small upstairs called the court.
The court.
That is where you will go and go against it. There's a provision for it, and that is the beauty of democracy. That is the rule of law. So let's not think that there's something unnecessary abnormal about it.
Comrade, before we go on break, don't you think that this has ruined the chances of a YPP, assuming they were?
Yes, they stood a chance before. Okay, yes, to an extent it may. Yes. It's now all about them trying to prepare whether they will be heading to the court. But the point there is that it seems our court is just beginning to wake up. This one, we are beginning to hear judgments being handed down. Even the chief of army staff is to proceed.
It's not a victim.
The other day it was the
chairman of EFCC
who even came out to say I bear no hand in this accusation, please. And then, but then that is what the court should be doing. But what I should expect is that the delivery of justice is speedy, like he said, speedily done. But for a man like me, a layman who can only argue a point of law, there's no need preempting the court. But I believe if he is innocent, he can proceed, and that's why we have this alternative, and then that's why our judicial system is
mentioned about 4-5 guys on bulletproof. That is none is less than 50 million.
You see,
50.
when we begin to beam the if we had to beam the torchlight of justice, I read all that. If you want to beam the fact that you see that none of these candidates is even spared. You understand? Even the INEC that performs the duty of there is what you call election finance report or let me say expenses report. INEC told us in the report of 2019 that the PDP and the APC did not make any financial disclosure. They did not submit any report.
And what was the consequence?
You understand? Nothing was the consequence. So if you have to even go beyond YPP, we see that virtually all the we are living in this country when a politician could actually give a flying order, bullion vans will fly into his compound. So what has happened? What has happened?
Okay, well, that's where we're going to take it. Council, I'm sure you're aware, in 1920, what America called the congressional law in 1925 that checks, the balance, the expenses of a campaign.
Election expenses.
Election expenses.
We have that provision even in the Electoral Act.
Yes, it is in the Electoral Act.
It does exist.
But they are not.
That is the point being made. The failure in Nigeria of the failure of consequence. The failure of consequence. Again, a corollary that ties in from the first issue we dealt with up to this one is that in our law, the basic law of the land, the ground norm, the constitution, the exclusive legislative list is unwieldy, is too heavy.
Yes, 68 items.
That is why the local governments are left with nothing. That is why responsibilities that even the divisional police station ought to be pursuing in terms of fighting corruption, we have to wait for EFCC to do so, and EFCC has to wait until the president
or the presidency
endorses. That is wrong. You can't get anywhere by so doing, and that is why anytime something like this happens, people will now begin to allege that it is witch hunting. Because it has to take the president who is from the other camp or against whom you've proceeded to now wake up and endorse, and then you'll be carpeted.
All right, wonderful viewers, we're going to go on a very short break, and when we come back, Nigeria Today continues. Don't go away, keep watching Living TV. I am glad you're still there watching your favorite station, the Living Television. We are still on that edition of Nigeria Today. All right, today, ahead of the 2023 general elections, the National Security Advisor and say Major General Baba Mungunu, retired yesterday, warned state governors using their stocks to prevent opposition parties from mounting their campaign posters and others. He said sooner or later that the Nigerian security or security personnel is going to pounce on them. Council, for state governors, is it proper? This observation.
I came across that statement or report by the NSA. Even the Electoral Act itself outlaws the use of private security during the election process. Makes it actually a criminal offense,
exactly,
punishable by a term of imprisonment of about 12 months, or a fine of 1 million naira, or both for an individual and for a group, being the political party, 2 million. That ought to be the case. But then, my quarrel with the system, based on the unwieldy nature of our constitution, did it have to take the National Security Advisor to say so? If we have what it takes to be in place, that is actually the duty of the police. Even this statement, once it is coming from the National Security Advisor, who reports directly to Mr. President, appointed by him, does not go through clearance, it is seen as partisan.
Okay.
It is seen as partisan. He may be right. In fact, he is right. He is correct. That is the truth of the matter. But once it is coming from him, let him tell his boss. Let him advise. He's an advisor. The National Security Advisor advises Mr. President on issues of national security. He's not there to threaten anybody. He's not there to harass anybody. When he tells his boss, advises his boss will now give marching orders to the Inspector General of Police, who will be the one to call out the governors. Otherwise, having laid this foundation, whenever they proceed to go against any governor, the person will cite this and say, no, it is coming from APC. It is coming from, but if it is coming from Inspector General of Police, representing the Nigeria police, then that is okay. So let's also try to do things properly in this place. Like I said many times that this administration, they seem not to have some coherence in their own approach to things. Each person is trying to outdo the other. Why would the National Security Advisor be talking to the nation?
An advisor?
Yes, he has no business addressing the governors. They should even tell him
they should
tell him to go and sit down. He will advise his boss, the president, who is commander-in-chief of the armed forces, who has appointed the Inspector General of Police, as well as the heads of all the security agencies. Those ones will now, each person, take up his own area of responsibility. He shouldn't be disturbing people.
All right, viewers, you can always call us on 091-682-84994. Call us, make your contributions. You can equally ask questions, but before then, you tell us where you're calling us from, and then you make your contributions. All right, comrade, you heard what the National Security Advisor said,
yes,
and they're considering his position. But outside that, I think the council has cleared that area. But outside that, is it proper for a particular party in position to stop other opposition parties from their campaigns?
I think everything we are talking about today seems to be coming down to one particular category of people. That's the governors. That's what we are here for, the governors.
The offenders in chief.
The offenders in chief. The problem is, yes, it is as clear as day. It is true. Remember, Governor Wike issued Order 22.
Yeah, exactly.
We even talked about it.
Last 2 weeks.
Some of these orders and some of these.
They wake up and sign anything.
Yes, they are just targeted at opposition. You see that I think in Zamfara State.
Sorry, let's take. Hello, you're welcome to Living TV Nigeria today. Oh, sorry, we missed it. Hello. Hello. You're welcome to Living TV Nigeria today. Your name and where you're calling us from.
Yes, my name is David Augustine. Hello?
Yes, you say your name is David.
Yes.
Go ahead. Where are you calling us from?
My name is David Augustine from Benue State.
Okay, from Benue State.
From the local government in Benue State.
Okay. Go ahead, we are listening.
Yes, concerning the issue you are discussing about the election.
Yes.
I don't know. I feel let me just confirm something about the presidential election.
Go ahead.
Because sometimes some people used to come to us and say, yes, our vote is not counted. Is it whether the vote is not counted or our vote is counted?
Council, you had the question.
Help me out.
Yeah? That a lot of people are coming to tell them that their vote is not going to count. So is their vote this time going to count?
Well, my brother, Mr. David. Hello, Mr. David.
Mr. David.
Well, let me address it. Yeah. Yes, over the years, our political system efforts are being made to purify it, to make it better. Recently, you heard of the introduction of the Beaver machine, the new machine that is to be used for an improved system of accreditation and voting, all aimed at eliminating rigging. It was tried in Osun State in the last staggered election and it proved useful. So this time around, we are believing that the votes will count. Mr. President himself has also given the assurance and reassurance, same thing with the INEC chairman, that the votes are going to count. If they had not been counted before, that this time around they are going to count. So it can only get better. That is our belief. Let's not demoralize ourselves by being pessimistic, believing that it's not going to work and so we stay at home. No. Let's come out, play our own part, which is come out, get accredited, vote, and then let's see how the system keeps getting better. We will have some teething problems, I agree, but if we do not make any effort, then nothing gained.
All right, don't be pessimistic, but be optimistic, believing that it's going to work. And the INEC themselves have assured that this beavers is the answer to it. There is no incident form this time around.
Yeah.
All right. Comrade, you were saying something, or have you concluded?
No.
We're talking about governors and...
yes.
Hello, Living Television, Nigeria Today. Your name and where you're calling us from, and then your suggestion or question.
Yes, sir. My second question is that.
Go ahead. Is that David?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. Are we not tired of sending our papa to that seat?
Are we not tired of
sending our fathers, papas to that seat, presidential seat?
For that one, I think it is, Brother David, I think it's up to you, up to me, up to every Nigerian to determine. Yeah. And we will use our vote to determine it.
Why can't you allow?
Allow who? So I said, why can't you allow?
The youth of this country, why can't
Okay, I guess he's trying to say, why wouldn't we allow younger people?
Younger people.
Yes, let us use our votes to talk. We are. It's not only on TV that we will talk. Our job here is to sensitize, but on the actual day of voting, talk with your vote, sir. Use your vote and say that thing you want to tell us. Let every Nigerian use his vote to say it. I think that will be louder. The statement will be louder.
That is to tell you that your vote counts this time. Your vote must count. It is not going to be business as usual. Hi, comrade.
Yeah, so I was talking
I
about.
hope they allow you to land.
Yeah, even if he comes again, it's okay, it's welcome. We are here to see their views and then react and help enlighten or even inform. Now, I think I was talking about these governors. Yes, and that has been the problem we have, because everything we are talking today seems to be boiling down on the same governors. Accountability on their part is what will always make the system to work effectively. So, be that as it may, I think what it actually calls for is everybody, all of us here, being more focused on what the governors do, even members of House of Assembly. You understand? Some of us don't even know who their representative is. And I can assure you that a good number of us may not also know. I mean, they're just the names of their local government chairmen.
All right. The former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, on Thursday has declared that God is a Nigerian. God is a Nigerian. He said that God allows Nigeria to get away with the stupid things. The president equally said that Nigeria should blame itself for failing to harness God's given natural resources.
Yes, sir. In the home, for those of us who are parents, any of your children that you love so much and that you give everything the child asks for ends up becoming stupid. It is a statement of fact.
Yes.
You cannot give your child everything the child asks for. Somehow in Nigeria, I think God has really loved us so much and has been so good to us, especially in the past, that somehow God has spoiled us. Because even without working, people eat. Elsewhere, those places that we are trying to run to, if you don't work there, you will not eat. You will not eat. But here, you find, because somebody has oil at the back of his yard, he becomes rich. Because somebody is host to something, he becomes rich every day, settle us, pay royalty and stuff like that. Apart from that, if Baba says that God is a Nigerian, in one aspect I will agree with him, because the type of atrocities committed in Nigeria, I'm not sure that Sodom and Gomorrah did nearly half as much, and God erased those two nations from the surface of the earth. Till today, we don't have any place called Sodom, we don't have any place called Gomorrah. We only have Sodomy, which you know what it refers to, terrible sin. But in Nigeria today, Nigerians are doing worse. Money ritual. A 12-year-old, I was watching a clip yesterday, one by 15-year-old that went to do money ritual. Somehow, thank God, the Babalawo decided to flog the living daylight out of him with a machete. Because he asked him, what work do you do? And he said, nothing. You are not working, and you want to be rich. Available only in Nigeria. Even prayer, we have misplaced prayer. It's only in Nigeria that somebody will not work. You get up and your pastor will tell you, don't worry, just receive it. You keep on shouting, I receive it without working. You will not read. You will go to exam hall and they are wishing you success. God doesn't operate like that. God doesn't operate like that.
This one, I was waiting for Obasanjo to do an epistle.
Another letter. I think Baba has gotten tired of
yes, perhaps he's no longer
reclining.
He's no longer reclining back in his seat at the library, the biggest library, one of the biggest libraries, to turn out those salvos. But I have this to say. You see, each time Obasanjo talks, you see, he talks as someone who loves this country. And it's true, and someone who has actually fought for the unity and then togetherness of this country. But there is something he was pointing at. He's talking about the citizens having the presence of mind as 2023 draws near. And I have always said this, 2023 is very historic to all of us because it will mark the 100th year of election in Nigeria. First time election happened was in 1923. After the Constitution of 1922, we had the elective principle. We went to vote. But then we had elitist system. It only happened in Calabar and Lagos, and people who earned only £100 participated. But today, if you look at the problem, we see the country seems to be, people say it's autopilot or something, I don't know. The country seems to be retrogressing on many grounds. So, what should 2023 mean to us, even to callers like David? It means we have to go out here and get involved in the process of recruitment of leadership. So, that God has been merciful to us doesn't mean that God didn't lavish on our country. Yes, God, yes, we shall remain in sin and grace abound for us. Thank you so much. You understand? So, to me, I think even the other day we were talking about oil deposit being found somewhere in the Gongola Basin. Yes, in the north, Gombe and I think Bauchi and Gombe. Yes. Now it tells you that what is also here is also there. We are not even talking about the fact that the solid minerals of this country, I'm talking about things like bitumen and the rest of them, are not yet tapped. They are not yet tapped. So it's high time we begin to try to get it right.
All right, because of our time, Adamawa State Governor Ahmed Fintri proceeds with his campaign despite losing 5% in a ghastly motor accident, and then he continued without even stopping.
Yeah,
he continued with his campaign.
You see, during the 2016 election in America, there was a shooting that happened. Hillary Clinton and Trump stopped their campaign trail for almost 2 days or so. There was a shooting that all these mass shootings that happened, or something like that. They stopped the campaign. But that actually tells you the premium we place on life in Nigeria, and it's very.
Okay. Sometimes you said nobody should die for any politician.
A point I have repeatedly made on this program, and I'm happy you remember. I think the unconscionable behavior of the governor in this regard has clearly demonstrated why I have been saying that no person should lose his life because of any politician. And today, if any person dies, it's just statistics. Like you rightly said.
Yeah.
To us here, 5 people died. But to their families,
fathers,
daddy died, brother died,
or husband
died, and so on and so forth. But to the nation, even to the governor that went with them or called them, and 5 people died. And we might start arguing, no, it wasn't 5. Actually, it was actually 4.5 that died.
All right, but I want us to look at it also. Is it proper?
It's not proper. You see.
That's why I said no person should lose his life.
It shows you where the bread is buttered. You understand? Let me say it this way. See, the governor, so I'm sorry to say it, I am not his subject, I'm not in his state, but he has no regard for human life. That's the meaning. It's as clear as
he ought to have
paused.
Called off that, even if he came back the next day, but everybody would have seen that he deferred, at least in honor memory.
These are people who are working for him, or who were working for him.
They were in the same just that the security vigilante group of the state.
That is the thing.
They were in his entourage.
So,
or maybe they were a little further, and then this man veered off the road.
And this should also inform, just like a council established here. You see, the other day, people we saw on the internet pictures of Peter Obi and Charles Soludo hugging. It wasn't even up to 2 days. We now saw that Femi Fani-Kayode and Dino Melaye were also hugging.
Yes, mortal enemies.
Mortal enemies. You see, these guys are not enemies. They are just friends. What is at stake is their interest. Their interest is not converging. It is conflicting, and that's why you see them write epistles, banter, exchange banter, and what have you. But in real terms, they believe in themselves. You see, let me say this today now. You see, there was a time we had it in Abia State, and when we had the tussle between Governor Roger Okalo and the former Theo Dodge. A politician told me something, and I took it to him. He said, Governor Roger Okalo can eat in Theodore's house, but you cannot come to your own house and eat.
Despite the quarrel.
No matter whatever, they know what is at stake is just interest.
There was a picture circulated on the internet some weeks ago showing Ojo Zokalo, Theodore J, and Governor Kisi.
Yeah,
three of them together
this morning.
Yeah, together in one picture.
And you see how friendly they look. Even when they were being sworn in at the National Assembly, Abaribe, Theodore J, and the Kalo, they were just exchanging jokes, and these are people who, for wanting to support them, many people will even risk their own lives.
All right, before we go, let's not look at this one. Finally, the Rivers State Governor Nyeso Wike has berated the Minister of State for Budget and National Planning, Mr. Clement Abba, for accusing governors of abandoned rural areas in developmental agenda, but working on needless flyovers.
I think that was the earlier
yes, before the other
invariably.
Yes.
Everybody knows that Governor Wike has been
commissioning
flyovers, and nobody should blame him for so doing. I think it's marks of jealousy on the part of that minister to even begin to talk about that minister has no business. Let him mind his own business.
I think he's talking from a ministry where, you see, Nigerians are not angry enough.
It's very idle.
Nigerians are not angry enough, and I keep saying it. I am saying that in the proposed 2023 budget, already we have 203 billion naira padded inserted into the budget of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster, the worst ministry so far created by this APC government.
Ministry of
Humanitarian, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, the disaster control and
sorry, pardon my ignorance. What does that ministry do?
In fact, the ministry was created, I think, in 2018 or 2019. The ministry was just created to, and I will say it here, it's my personal opinion, to Priest Oshibanjo. You know, as the lead of the economic team, Oshibanjo was actually managing both the trader money, farmer money, disaster stuff, and what have you. So this ministry was actually created.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
To weaken Oshibanjo. You understand? And then we had this ministry. The minister came out to tell us they were feeding school children during lockdown. The same minister came out to tell us that they had the funds, millions of naira to families.
That was why I asked to
and we're not saying election is coming. Election is coming. There was an allegation that actually flew some time ago. Election is coming, that people are trying to monetize. They are trying to dish out money through this ministry, and I'm sorry to say it. So the Minister of Finance has not even been able to explain why that amount should be allotted to that very ministry. And again, you see, I don't know what that minister had in mind when he said that.
Jealous.
Yes, if Wike has been doing flyovers, it is fine. Let your own minister.
And his people are pleased with him. His people are happy with him that he's doing flyovers.
Well, and then when you're talking about what's this other thing he mentioned that they are also building airports?
You see,
what is wrong in having an airport?
Yeah, you see, to me, even though the aviation itself is still in the exclusive list, mind you, one of the things we've been agitating. Why will you have 68 items on one list alone? And
Anambra Airport was built by the state government.
Yes. Now the state are now trying to.
Owerri Airport, Sambako Airport, was built by the old Imo State.
Even there was a contribution.
So finally, even that of Asaba, finally, it is the federal government that takes the benefit
of the whole thing.
Whatever the state do.
And that's the thing.
So why is he talking? So it's very idle. that minister is idle and jobless.
That's the Minister of State for Finance.
He's idle. He's jobless. That's why he has the time to start criticizing somebody for delivering on the yearnings and aspirations of his people.
And you know, Wike is not the type you can shout down. Well, wonderful viewers,
take it to the cleaners.
That is the march we are going to take today, and I'm sure you've enjoyed every bit of this. Next time you can always call in and ask your question. Remember, tomorrow is another Saturday. Remember, the Living TV Club is still on. You can call the office and make your inquiries and see how you can become part of this wonderful trend. Having said that, from my far left is Barrister Chukwemeka Barrister Chukwemeka Wongo. Thank you for being part of today's program again.
Thank you, moderator, and bye, viewers.
And Honorable Namdi Lekwachi, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much.
All right, our wonderful viewers, this is your moderator, Chinedu Adiele. Keep watching Living TV until we come your way again. From me now is bye.
To go. I love my fatherland. Oh yeah. I want to know. Yes, I want to know which way Nigeria is heading to. Which way Nigeria? Which way Nigeria? Which way to go? Which way to go? I love my fatherland. Oh yeah. I want to know. I want to know. Many years after independence, we still find it hard to start. How long shall we be patient before we reach the promised land? Let's save Nigeria, so Nigeria won't die.